Harambe! 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 Kwanzaa! Kwanzaa! Celebration! Kwanzaa! Kwanzaa! Celebration!
So, please give a round of applause for our guest speaker, Delegate Dr. What does that mean? When you go
From WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network, this is special programming Kwanzaa 2017. As many are aware, over the years we have done special presentations for Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is a unique holiday. It was founded by Dr. Maulana Karenga of Los Angeles. And this is from the Los Angeles Sentinel. It was published on the 21st of December 2017. We are here on the 26th of December 2017. And I'll read just part of this, and we will append it to the show. Part 1 of all the rich, instructive, uplifting, and expansive ways to express the central meaning and message of Kwanzaa. None is more vital or valuable than our seeing and embracing it as a season of celebrating, of creating, and sharing good in the world. Even Kwanzaa's most essential definition as a celebration of family, community, and culture is a celebration of shared good in and of the family, the community, the culture, and ultimately what all this means for the good of the world. This derived from righteousness, reading, accumulation of the ancient African model and practice of cultivating, harvesting, sharing the first fruit of the field and forest, i.e. life-sustaining good in the world. It is an ancient model rooted in cooperative agriculture practices which teach us in an enduring value of our sowing of seed of goodness everywhere, of cultivating them with loving care, harvesting, and sharing the product in the community, binding and building ways. In ancient African-American and Pan-African, an African-American and a Pan-African holiday, Kwanzaa is both conception and practice of a world-encompassing celebration. It is a world encompassing in that it is practiced by millions of Africans throughout the global African community. And it is a world encompassing in its roots in ancient Africa, in African agriculture, celebrations and their concern with the earth and their conception of human interrelated with the humans interrelated with the world and their responsibility to it. Although people tend to believe that Kwanzaa is essentially a modern holiday founded in 1966. So we are 50 plus years into Kwanzaa, 51 by this offer. Actually, it's by Dr. Maulana Karenga. Actually, it has two origins, ancient and modern. In the origin agricultural celebrations, Kwanzaa is as old as agriculture, which is as old as the world in itself, and the celebration of the first fruit. Indeed, it has been said that Kwanzaa is older than agriculture. That is to say, older than a large-scale planned and organized farming. For Kwanzaa as a first fruit celebration is rooted in the natural cycle of the season when the first fruit of the tree, the bush, the plant, the vine appears and were harvested by our people, and our people gathered together to celebrate the good harvest, to give thanks for the good earth and the abundant blessings from it, and to recommit themselves to protecting, preserve, and caring for the earth in a life-affirming and world-respecting way. Kwanzaa has its modern origin rooted in the Black freedom movement of the 60s. It is part of the liberation struggle to free ourselves and to be ourselves. Thus, it is an act of freedom, self-determination, for it was created and declared without input or permission of the dominant society. Moreover, it was a defiant act to celebrate our African selves, our families, our communities, culture in a dignified, affirming, life-enhancing, and liberating way. It is also a liberating act of Sofa, a cultural recovery and remembrance of ancient visions and values directed towards the grounding and enriching our lives and advancing the interests of our liberation struggle. For again, as it always was, a central part of our people's struggle to be ourselves, free ourselves culturally as well as politically. Thus, Kwanzaa stands in the midst of a dynamic and ever-pressing presence, looking back while facing forward to the ground and orienting our measures of our thoughts and practices today by the best of our past thought and practice, and develop the most ethical, effective, and expansive way for moving forward. In today's world, with such packed and peddled fears and confusion, structural poverty, severe suffering, oppression of all kinds, while volatile the dignity and rights of human beings and the integrity of the earth. A solid culture and moral ground on which to stand is imperative. Thus, our world is in both the natural and social sense. While not irreparably broken, it is severely damaged, in the need of ongoing repair, renewal, and remaking of the most ethical, sensitive, profound, and promising way. The Kwanzaa theme for 2017, practicing the principles of Kwanzaa, repairing, renewing, and remaking our world. Foregrounds and focus of the ancient African ethical imperative of Sajana, which means to renew and to make our world, world the natural and social sense, while not the Kwanzaa theme. We got past that. We'll get to it here. The grave issues include a genocide, a group and a state terrorism, warmongering, homelessness, personal insecurity, hunger, famine, food insecurity, military occupations, climate change, environmental damage, degradation, denial of human rights, the lack of the lack and inadequacy of health care, poverty, oppression, and a variety of forms, and how do each and all of these of us participate in the building of a good community, society, and world we all want and deserve to live in. Again, the solution Kwanzaa offers is a serious and sustainable practice in the Nguma Saba, the 7 principles, and today Umoja, unity, and then we go into Kiko. I always mispronounce this. The self-determination, Ujuma, collective work and responsibility, Ujama, cooperative economics, Nina, purpose, Kubaba. That is my Swahili here. If I can get down here. Creativity. Kubala, creativity. And Imani, faith. Those are the 7 principles. Excuse me. Each day we will highlight one of the 7 principles. Today, unity, emoja, and we definitely do need emoja. Dr. Karenga is the chair of the African Studies Department at California State University, Long Beach, executive director of the American African Culture Center, and he's written many books out there that have been since 1966, a long enduring situation here. Let me just quote Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune challenges us all when she said, "We must remake the world. The task is nothing less than that." And it is reaffirming in the distinction between Monaco and Algerian psychologist and a revolutionary therapist, Frantz Fanon, challenged us to start a new history of humankind and to consider the question of humanity. Talked to a lady the other day about humanity, and she was telling me that her son, she does a lot of volunteerism, thought that her take on serving to humanity was nuts, silly. To consider the question of humanity, turn over a new leaf, work out new concepts, and to try to set afoot a new human being. And that has been the Martin Neaton, let me get him right, the Algerian psychiatrist. He was a psychiatrist, died at Howard University in the, I believe, his late 60s. I read Dr. Fanon, the Wretch of the Earth, and so forth, and so on. Likewise, it finds a reaffirmation in the Kenyan Nobel Peace Prize laureate and environmentalist Dr. Wagura Matini challenged us to assist the earth to heal her wounds and in the process heal our own. Thus, she says, requires a new consciousness where we understand what that we belong to a larger family of life on the earth. There's no doubt about that. And then he quotes to Dr. George Washington Carver, a botanist, agronomist, chemist, and now would be referred to as a biological engineer, artist, conservationist, and environmentalist. He urged us to care for the earth, share its abundance, and to take your share of the world and to let others take their share of the world and listen to and learn the various languages spoken by all forms of nature around us and for the good of the world. And it was indeed, Dr. Carver said, the singing birds and buzzing bees, the opening of flowers, the buds of trees, along with other forms of animate and inanimate matter, all have the marvelous creation story to tell. But Dr. Carver was educated at a laboratory at Iowa State University at one time, and then he worked also in the lab of one Thomas Edison. A little bit of history of there. Let's go to a couple of events here. First of all, very sad news. The daughter of Mr. Gardner, who was murdered on Long Island, Erica Gardner, is in a medical center. She had a heart attack related to her asthma. And get the latest here from New York. Here they posted it. Hospitalized after heart attack. Evidently it was her second heart attack. She's only 27 years old. She is a mother of 2 young kids. She was his oldest daughter, a major force behind protests here. And he saw Snipes Gardner told the Daily News in hospital and on life support. She'd been induced into a coma. She suffered from the asthma. That was on a Saturday night. She's a mother of two, gave birth to her youngest child in August. The pregnancy put a strain on her heart. An unfortunate situation again for Erica Gardner. We have our thoughts with her family. I was just looking at an article she wrote in, and I won't read it all, in the Washington Post, endorsing Bernie Sanders. I want a leader who truly cares about justice for my family, for black people, and all Americans. I'm endorsing Bernie Sanders. This says it all right here. A year and a half ago, an officer killed her father. I'll just go through this. And also the persecution of the man Ramsey Orta, the person that actually filmed it. He had been harassed, and she goes on to talk about Sandra Bly, Freddie Graham, and Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, and various other people killed by police violence. That's why I resent the politicians who speak their names without confronting the underlying problem. A banned chokehold that was used on my father. Several officers on the scene let it happen. My father is dead. Patanlo is still on the payroll of the NYPD. And this just shows you what goes on here. Trusted establishment of Democrats who claim to represent me, only later to watch them ignore and explain away the injustices of my father's death. I trusted the system, then I watched politicians on both sides, from the right-winger Ron Emanuel in Chicago to Gateway Snyder and the Flint debacle in Flint, Michigan there. Black Americans, all Americans, need a leader with a record that speaks for itself, and to make it clear, of all the presidential candidates, Bernie Sanders is our strongest ally. I still believe we can. That's why I endorsed Bernie Sanders for president, Erica Gardner. And again, remember, a candidate who dared to believe in hope and challenged his opponent. He wasn't ready for leadership. They said he can't win. He said, yes, we can, and we did. You're talking about Barack Obama there. And this is the kind of thing that we confront on this Kwanzaa business out here. We have Erica Gardner here. And from the Public News Service, another story here. Arkansas plan would cut thousands from a Medicaid program. Now, this is something that affects the public health, affects all of us, African Americans, and into the larger society. Health officials are proposing significant cuts to Medicare by rolling back the income requirements for eligibility. Some experts say that this is against the rule. The state currently is awaiting an answer from the federal government. This would mean as many as 60,000 current enrollees would lose their coverage. They want to change the requirements. Jessica Sable, a senior policy analyst with the progressive think tank Center for Budget Priorities, Policies and Priorities, said that not the way Medicare is, it's not the way it's supposed to work. Under the Affordable Care Act, Arkansas expanded its program with a private option where most participants are covered by market-based insurance, with Medicaid picking up the tab. Under that plan, the state rolls grew to more than 330,000. The governor there, Asa Hutchins' son, said the cuts are needed to contain costs and eliminate where there's no waste there. Before the Affordable Care Act, Arkansas only provided Medicare coverage to the very, very poor parents, and did not cover children or childless adults at all. So eligibility was expanded to all adults and incomes up to 138% of the federal requirement. So now they are trying to literally weasel out of that. A very, very unfortunate situation that has occurred there in the state of Arkansas. And these are challenges that Dr. Karenga talks about, and it continues on. It's not something that just popped up yesterday and is not popping up today. From the Tampa Bay Times, that's won 12 Pulitzer Prizes. Protesters get ready in case DJ Trump fires Mr. Mueller. This is from the LA Times. Organizations have stashed bullet horns in apartments and offices near Manhattan's Times Square. They're stockpiling hot chocolate mixes and sleeping bags in Salt Lake City. Some of the things that are happening here, this is in keeping with this day of Kwanzaa that we are celebrating. Across the nation, activists are making plans, collecting supplies, raising money to swiftly launch hundreds of street demonstrations if DJ Trump fires Robert Mueller. He's investigating DJ Trump. We're on red alert. Never mind that Trump and his legal team insist there's no plan to oust Mr. Mueller. Few outside legal experts believe Mueller could offer the promise while the investigation remains on investigation. The president's lawyers had expected to meet with the special counselor as Trump seeks public exoneration to remove the cloud over his presidency. Won't happen. I went into shock after the presidential election, and because became politically active almost immediately. That is for Mary Louise Ocha, a retired University of Houston staff member who is helping to organize in Houston. These are things that we need to be about on Kwanzaa as we start out on the 26th. These are not isolated affairs, period. Mueller's tenure has filed criminal charges against some Trump people. Paul Medford there. David Meyer, University of California sociology professor who wrote a book called The Politics of Protest, said there are some signs that anti-Trump demonstrators are producing the kind of electoral energy that would be needed for the Democrats to retake control of Congress in 2018. The connection between protest politics and mainstream politics is the challenge for people going out into the streets now. He says it's always an uphill battle, no doubt about that. Dr. Karenga talked about that. But organizers face a challenge waiting for Trump to move, no doubt about that. And we don't actually want this to happen. This is from Sharon Stageman, 33 years old. She is a protester in New York. So these things are being prepared as we stay on the front line in service of the community. Also in the Tampa paper here, dark, desperate light without power in Puerto Rico. Morales, Puerto Rico, 3 days before the Christmas. Doris Martinez and her daughter joined their neighbors in a line outside of City Hall in Morales, a town of about 30,000. They've been living without electricity there, if you can believe that, in the mountains of central Puerto Rico. Martinez is a 73-year-old cancer survivor, balances the water atop the food, and picked her way up a steep hill to the house where she lives alone, washing and rinsing out clothes by hand and locking herself in at night, afraid of robbers. So they got robbers, bandits there also. This is life in Puerto Rico more than 3 months after DJ Trump declared a victory, destroyed the island's electrical grid. But normalcy remains far off. Puerto Rico's Electrical Power Authority restored 95% of the power by December 15th, they say, but its system is generating 70%. In other words, they got the power, but it's only 70% of the efficiency there. A group of local engineers estimate that 50% of the island's 3.3 million that haven't already left remain without power. So my arithmetic is correct here. That is a little over 100 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million people. The Army Corps of Engineers say it likely won't be until May that all the power is electrified there. They are working on it. It does take a while to do it. Down the hill, past the town's plaza, and up the hill for 50-year-old Rivera. Marla Rivera watches her husband and two friends remove broken furniture and saggy sheets from their home, which was destroyed by the storm. It is 2 p.m., and the three men tossed the debris into a truck one of them owned, and city officials never showed up to clean up the debris. So, in other words, the FEMA people never got into the mountains. 1,000 homes across Barrobas is destroyed. Lost their roofs, and 90% of the residents have not received any federal aid. Period. That's according to Carmen Maldoza. She expects it to be several months before the power returns to the entire town. Overall, 200,000 homes were damaged in Puerto Rico by the storm. They were destroyed and will cost an estimated $95 billion to repair. And this we don't see or hear normally around. A 29-year-old Wilmery Gomez ushers her three children into a dark house. The light blue cast by a tarp donated by a church to cover half of the roof. The other half of the roof is slabs of recycled zinc that Jose Luis Gomez pieced together for his family, along with broken pieces of wood, make a shelter there. So these are stories of real people, which we try to do at WBRN Radio, as many real people as we can possibly bring about. In many corners of the U.S. today, colder than normal weather out there. Let me just do the sports. We'll do this because sport is an important part of life as we celebrate the first day of Kwanzaa, and to the NBA is a proper place to go. This will be the scores from Santa Day. The NBA was active. I saw a story where the NBA is trying to reclaim much of the advertising dollar that the NFL usually gets on their Christmas Day games out there. And I believe they had 5 games scheduled for Christmas Day. We had the 76ers at the Knickerbockers at 105-98 76ers. The Cavaliers were at the Warriors out in California, 99-92 Warriors. The Wizards were in Boston, 111-103 over the Celtics. And finally, the T-Wolves were in Los Angeles, had a very good game there, 121-104. And that was the scores from the holiday games. This will do it for us on the first day of Kwanzaa. Unity is the word today. And remember, we have 7 days. This will end on from the 26th to New Year's Eve. It's a celebration. We light a candle for each day. You'll see those markers down there. And we are remembering Erica Garner, and our hopes go to her and her family whom have suffered the brutality of the NYPD, and now the unfortunate problem of this brilliant young lady at 27 who is just holding on quite literally. Happy Kwanzaa, everyone. We'll talk to you soon here at WBRN Radio in Boston. Also, We do have a numbers man up there, and we'll get our technical program, the open source report up this week also, and we're still moving and consolidating various
One more
things.
time, habari
We're still
gani?
coming with this program.
Ujamaa, hofu ni kwenu. Kwa niaba ya jumuiya yetu, yani us, na kwa niaba ya mke wangu, rafiki yangu, na mwenzi wangu katika viti vyote vizuri na vyema, tia moyo, tunasema karibuni miongoni mwetu. Mtakuta siku zote utakuta siku zote mahali pa amani, na tunawatakia baraka bila idadi na vitu vyote vizuri bila mwisho. Tuna zaidi ya hiyo, tunawaletea salamu za sherehe, ushikamano na jitihada ya kuendelea. On behalf of our organization, us and my house, my wife, my companion, and all things good and beautiful, Timoyo, we say welcome. Among us you will find your family in a peaceful place, and we wish for you blessings without number and all good things without end. Yes. And we bear witness as an African people that as our beginning was great and good, so shall our development throughout eternity be, if we dare struggle, speak true, do justice, and walk in the way of rightness. Hotel. Ashe. Hedi. I had 50 different things in my mind when I was talking, so actually I was giving 2 lectures. So I'm going to start over again.
Yeah.
Y'all think that's different?
It's African.
So I want to just say what I started to say when I first came in, and I'm going to focus this time. Just for the historical record, this is 50 years, right?
Yes,
sir. Habari gani? Ujamaa. Kwa niaba ya jumuiya yetu, yani us, na tia moyo mwenzi wangu katika vitu vyote vizuri, tunawaletea salamu za sherehe, ushikamano na jitihada ya kuendelea. Na tunasema karibuni, mmekuta jamaa yenu na mahali pa amani, na tunawatikia baraka bila idadi na vitu vyote vizuri bila mwisho. I say, on behalf of my organization, us, and my house, my companion in all things good and beautiful, we bring you greetings of celebration, solidarity, and continued struggle. And we say karibuni, or welcome. You found your family in a peaceful place.
Yes.
And we wish for you blessings without number and all good things without end.
Yes.
And we bear witness as an African people that as our beginning was great and good, so shall our development throughout eternity be, if we dare struggle, speak true, do justice, and walk in the way of rightness. Hotel. Ashe. Hedi. It is beautiful to be here on this 50th anniversary of the celebration of Kwanzaa.
Kids.
And I say asante to the Kwanzaa Cooperative and to NACO, the National Association of Kawaida Organization, and especially Maisha Ngozo.
Yes.
Not only because of her, okay, come on then, all right? All right then. All right. So again, asante to the Kwanzaa Cooperative and the National Association of Kawaida Organizations, especially Maisha Ngoza. Not only for the gifts she's given me and my house, but for the gifts she's given our people. Because of the light work she has given to our people, and how she has, in fact, come and offered us so many ways forward, ways that are dignity affirming and life enhancing, ways that pull us together and cause us to celebrate ourselves, not only during Kwanzaa, but through the whole year. And so I thank her, and I thank her again. And I say, Asante Sana, Nabadi Asante Mchango wa Pwani ni Haba, which means thanks, many thanks. And compared to the many times we say thank, the number of grains of sand on the seashore are few. And I want to give thanks also to Imshujar and Impaji. Where are they? Where are they? Stand up, Imshujar and Impaji. For their work and years of support and advancement of Kwanzaa and then Nguzo Saga and things that are good for our people. I thank you. And all of us thank you for the good work that you do. Asante again. And I do this in the spirit of brotherhood and say that it is together in love and mutual respect and constant struggle that we will actually build the good world we all want and deserve to live in, and that we will celebrate ourselves in a whole new way when we, in fact, win this victory we're struggling so hard to achieve. So as Tiboya said, my annual theme, founder's theme this year, is Kwanzaa, then Nguzo Saber, and our constant striving, repairing, renewing, and remaking the world. The 50th anniversary of the Pan-African holiday Kwanzaa, of necessity, brings added focus and emphasis on its customary call for three things: remembrance, reflection, and recommitment. We remember our history and the legacies left, and the people who made and left them for us and for the world. We reflect on the expansive meaning of being African in the world, on the context and issues of our time, and on our way forward and struggle to forge a future responsive to our own needs and interests, as well as to those of the world. And we commit ourselves as black people to our highest values, to our most honoring, elevating, and liberating practices, and as ever, to the good of our people and the well-being of the world. As we move toward the close of this year, with the white hammer of winter storms hanging menacingly over our heads.
Yes.
We must not despair.
No.
Or be dispirited.
Yes.
Or contemplate defeat.
That's right.
For the ancestors we honor, the history we've made, the struggle we wage, and the future of freedom and justice we're obligated to forge will not let us. And if we are to go on as we are supposed to go on, we must realize certain things. First, we must realize that we have seen, experienced, and resisted and survived worse systems and worse situations.
That's right. I know.
For we are people who are known by their resilience, their resourcefulness, their adaptive vitality.
Yes.
We're the people that Gwen Brooks says stay alive in ice and fire.
Ooh.
We're the people that Harold Thurman told us that we are storm riders. We ride the storm and remain intact.
That's right.
And we are, again, people that Gwen Brooks tell us, like other people, are easily destroyed by a whirlwind. But she says, we conduct our blooming. In fact, you're in disguise.
Yes.
I got a long lecture on that. I'm going to go now, but I want you to see it's an act of freedom to get that mask off.
That's right.
Think about that. Think about that. It's an act of freedom, right? To return to our best values. Not no ghetto values, not something the caveman gave us, but to go back to our basic values of seeking and speaking truth, doing and demanding justice, honoring our elders and our ancestors, cherishing and challenging our children, having a rightful relationship with the environment, caring for the poor and the vulnerable among us. We went back to that, always striving against evil and injustice,
Yes.
and always praising, pursuing, and raising up the good.
Teach.
We went back to that.
That's right.
Back to black. That's what we should say in the 60s.
That's
Back
right.
to black.
Back to
That's
black.
a revolutionary act
Back
to
to
go
black.
back to black.
Back to black.
And all those people that denied it, they don't exist anymore. Except in imagination and writing. That's why I tell black people, if you deny your existence, you don't exist, you don't even have an agenda. You can't even defend yourself. Somebody talking post-racial talk. If you don't exist, what's your problem? How you can say somebody doing something to you? You just said you wasn't black. They doing this, they shooting down black people. But since you black, even that he get you, I'm sorry. We don't know who you are. You just said you're not this. Just think about that. If you're not black, if you don't exist, what's your agenda?
Break it down.
What's your complaint? What's your grievance? And what's your future? You don't have a future. And that's what he wants to convince you of. You don't exist. You can't make no claim against me because you don't exist. Think about it. So this is what Kawaida, my philosophy, was about.
Hey.
It argued that one of the most important things we could do is dialogue with African culture, ask it questions, and seek from it answers to the fundamental issues of humankind. What does it mean to be a man?
Yes.
What does it mean to be a woman? Who is the white man to tell us what manhood is or what woman is?
Now.
How can he even speak to us? How can our oppressor be our teacher? That's what we did. We rejected all that.
That's right.
We returned to our best values and practices and our resistance and increased our resistance to the imposition of Eurocentric ways of understanding and engaging the world. I think it's very important for us to understand Kwanzaa was also an act of resistance and an act of freedom, in that it was an act of self-determination. I didn't seek answers and forms and model from the white man, our oppressor. I created Kwanzaa from the rich and ancient and varied culture of African people. We didn't ask permission to create it or celebrate
No,
it.
we
didn't
didn't.
petition
No.
the state legislature or the
No.
federal government or any other government. We didn't ask them for coverage or consent. Indeed, in a defiant act of freedom and self-determination, we created it for ourselves. We celebrated it for ourselves. And we legitimized it ourselves. We declared a holiday and celebrated it.
That's right. That's right.
In a word, we were our own authority,
Yes.
our own legitimizer, self-conscious speakers of our own special culture, true to ourselves and the world. I want you to remember that. Kwanzaa then also was conceived, in my mind, as an instrument of struggle. Malcolm has said culture is an indispensable weapon in the struggle. And I saw our discussion of Kawaida and culture as an instrument of struggle, and Kwanzaa was part of that. And you know what it was done? To do just what it's doing now, to raise and cultivate the consciousness of the people, to unite them around principles that anchored and elevated their lives and involved them in the struggle to be themselves and free themselves and build the just and good world we all want, work for, and deserve. And so Kwanzaa is a celebration of freedom, of the freedom struggle itself, in which Kwanzaa is grounded. A celebration of our choosing to free ourselves and be ourselves as Africans, and to rejoice in the richness of our history and culture of awesome and audacious striving and struggle. And so I want you to say, in these times of winter storms and worse weather to come, let us find in the celebration of Kwanzaa remembrance, reflection, and recommitment, which speaks to our constant striving and struggle to bring and sustain good in the world. Indeed, to repair, renew, and remake ourselves in the process and practice of repairing, renewing, and remaking the world. For as Mary McLeod Bethune said, we must remake the world. Our task is nothing less than that. In a real sense, the history of Kwanzaa mirrors the history of our people, black people, striving ever upward, refusing to be diverted, dispirited, or defeated. And we have now, black people, reached a crossroads where we need to draw upon all our inner strength. Keep the faith, hold the line,
Yes.
and not yield an inch or iota to evil and injustice
That's right.
anywhere.
That's right.
Let us hold fast in our African value system, the Nguzo Saba, that has won the hearts and minds of millions throughout the world African community. No other intellectual project, no other cultural project has united African people all over the world, on every continent in the world, throughout the world African community. There's not one other cultural product that has done that. So we have to hold to that. We have to cultivate that. We have to use that to unite our people, to ground them, so that they take it, as I said earlier, as a means to anchor themselves, orient themselves, elevate themselves, and direct their lives toward good and expansive end. And let our daily practice of our best value be our unannounced proof of who we really are.
Yes.
Because practice, in the final analysis, proves it makes possible everything. And it also becomes unannounced proof, not only who we are, but also what we aim to do in this our constant striving and struggle. The Nguzo Saba, the seven principles, begin with the principle of umoja. Say that, umoja.
Umoja.
Unity.
Unity.
For we come into being and best express and develop our humanity in relationship, black people. Although others may teach hate, hostility, alienation, animosity, etc., we must raise up the centrality of rightful relatedness, principled togetherness, and at oneness with each other and the world, which promises mutual respect, peace with justice, and the shared good of the world. I said then there are three basic aspects of unity, right? First is relatedness. We come into being in relation, right? And with every relationship, there is a responsibility. If I say I'm husband, that's not only a relationship, that's a responsibility. If I say I'm teacher, right? If I say I'm doctor, lawyer, if I say I'm a friend, if I say I'm a brother, and if you say you're a sister or a mother or a doctor or a lawyer or anything you name, that's a relationship. And at the same time, an awesome responsibility.
Yes.
And that means you must feel related to the people you are dealing with. Second, you have to have a serious togetherness. Togetherness means, a purposeful unifying, right? A principled unifying. But sometimes we're together with people, but we're not for them, even though we're with them. We might be of them, but still not be for them. Rescue me if I'm wrong. And a real unity makes you not only of and with, but also for. And finally, the ultimate unity is that oneness.
Yes.
That's a loving relationship we all seek.
Yes.
And sometimes think we'll never achieve. At oneness with each other and at oneness with the world. To feel natural in relationship.
Yes.
And to feel at one. Do you know what it means to feel at one? Now, this is almost a spiritual experience. People say mothers and children feel it. Fathers and children feel it. Friends feel it, right? Special relationship. And certainly male-female relationships or intimacies, people who are in intimate relationships can feel it. Now, y'all just listen just real close now. This at oneness I'm talking about.
Yes.
Do it any way you want in your mind. I can't talk all the way. You know what I mean? But there's certain practices that you get into when there is no up or down,
Yes.
no high and low, no there and here. It's just a merger. And nothing exists but the beauty of the whole. That's that oneness.
That oneness.
There's no separation. You can't imagine it. You're not even thinking about it. And we should strive for an oneness in our friendships. We can do it standing up as well as laying down. When you can do it standing up and sitting, walking and talking, working and building, then you know you become fully human.
Yes.
Fully able to understand and appreciate life the way it was created and the way it was internally directed.
Tonight.
The way it was internally directed. I'm sorry. I got kind of soft edge, I'm just trying to fire up your imagination on this 50th anniversary of Kwanzaa. The second principle is kujichagulia,
Kujichagulia.
self-determination.
Self-determination.
It reaffirms the right and responsibility of every people to control their destiny in daily life and to be respected as a unique and equally valid and valuable way of being human in the world. Moreover, the principle Ujima,
Ujima.
collective work and responsibility,
Collective work and responsibility.
reaffirms that together we must build the good world we want and deserve to live in, and that we must share the good we cultivate and harvest together. It speaks of an ethics of sharing of the good of society in the world. Ujamaa,
Ujamaa.
cooperative economic,
Cooperative economics.
commits us to the principle and practice of shared work and shared wealth. It stresses our kinship with each other and the environment and appreciation for the need for a just and equitable distribution of the good for everyone so that all people can live lives of dignity and decency in the world. The principle of Nia,
Nia.
purpose,
Purpose.
commits us to work for the realization of the collective vocation of restoring African people to their rightful power and proper place in the world and to constantly bring good in the world. It calls on us for a special greatness, black people. I say this principle, Nia, calls on us for a special greatness. A greatness measured by our good deeds, not by warmongering and technological wonders.
No.
For the Hosea said, the wise are known by their wisdom, but the great are known by their good deeds. Kumba,
Kumba.
creativity,
Creativity.
commits us to work to build a world that is more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. And it reminds us of the ancient ethical imperative of Saruj Cha to constantly repair and renew the world, making it, remaking it more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited.
Yeah.
And it also teaches us to remake our own world and our own relationships, our own self. It means to raise up what is in ruin, to repair what is damaged, to replenish what is depleted, to rejoin what has been separated, to set right what is wrong, to strengthen what is weakened, and to make flourish that which is fragile and undeveloped. And we must see ourselves in this struggle we are waging. Not only as wounded people, not only as people who have been victimized unjustly by our oppressor, but we must see ourselves as injured physicians who can in fact heal themselves, who have it within themselves to heal themselves as they are in the process of healing and repairing the world. Because we must repair the world, we must repair first this society because it's a sick society, a pathological and pathogenic society. And if you live in a sick house or a sick society, you remain sick. Even if you have temporary inoculation against it, it gets you after a while. And you can never feel strong and as healthy as you ought to be.
That's right.
So there's no freedom without freeing this society from racism and sexism and classism and all the other isms that it has put together to dominate, deprive, and degrade people. And so I say to you, let's practice Saruj Cha. Let's heal and repair and remake society and the world in the process of healing and repairing ourselves and vice versa. Finally, Imani.
Imani.
Faith.
Faith.
The faith we talk about rejects the idea of a funded faith. A faith that seeks favor from the oppressor. We don't need that. It also rejects a religion in service to oppression. Indeed, our Imani teaches us to believe in the good, the right, and the possible, and in the righteousness and victory of our constant striving and struggle to expand the realm of freedom, justice, and peace, and lay a solid basis for human flourishing and the well-being of the world. And Imani reminds us, black people, to keep the faith of our foreparents, who taught us this enduring ethical obligation, to know our past and honor it,
Teach.
to engage our present and improve it, and to imagine a whole new future and forge it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive ways. And this too, from Kawaida, actually also from my ancestors, and this says this: if you want to celebrate this anniversary and celebrate the lives of black people, free and self-determining, then do this. Continue the struggle. Say, would you repeat after me? Continue the struggle.
Continue the struggle.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
Hold the line.
Hold the line.
Love and respect our people and each other.
Love and respect our people and each other.
Seek and speak truth.
Seek and speak truth.
Do and demand justice.
Do and demand justice.
Be constantly concerned
Be constantly concerned
with the well-being of the world and all in it.
with the well-being of the world and all in it.
And dare to rebuild
And dare to rebuild
overarching movement
the overarching movement
that prefigures
that prefigures
and makes possible
and makes possible
the good world
the good
we
world
all want and deserve to live in.
we all want and deserve to
And
live
work so mightily to achieve.
and work so mightily to achieve it.
It is our Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, asante.
It is our Kwanzaa.